something that has been in the media for some time now, something that has been very strange, is the Uvalde school shooting, the Robb Elementary, where an individual walked into a school with an AR-15, further contributing to the stigma against AR-15s, and proceeded to kill 19 students and 2 teachers. This in itself is a tremendous tragedy, as it is whenever there is a mass shooting, particularly where children are involved, and particularly when working class people die. What's interesting in this situation is that, we would go through the usual stuff that happens in every one of these shootings. Oh, ban guns, because if you ban guns, then people who want to shoot people will stop wanting to shoot people, or stuff will just magically end up going away, or what have you. But what's really interesting about this case is the failure by the police. Now, there were non-stop reports about how the police failed to move in and stop the shooter. The police did not want to confront this guy, this kid, because he had an AR-15. An AR-15. So, the police, now with more reports showing that they could hear kids begging for their lives, screaming in terror, and they decided still not to make a move. So it's always officers are afraid for their lives and have to shoot unarmed people. But when they are in this situation, all of a sudden they don't want violence anymore. They don't want shootings. Were they not afraid for their lives, which is why they didn't shoot? Or maybe in this case they were actually afraid for their lives, and that's why they didn't shoot. What speaks volumes in this situation is the fact that the police, and particularly the chief, refused to cooperate with an investigation as to whether or not they did the right thing. They had decided that they weren't going to talk anymore, they weren't going to give any more interviews, they weren't going to discuss anything publicly or privately, or cooperate with an FBI investigation or internal affairs investigation. So there you have it, case closed. And now they want to seal evidence because the perpetrator is dead, and that if there's an incident where the only person that can be charged is dead, then the case gets locked up and put away so nobody can see anything. So strange. The police suddenly don't want to investigate and are deliberately hindering an investigation. Correct me if I'm wrong, officer, but isn't that the very definition of obstruction? Isn't that a crime? Isn't that illegal? But we know the police are going to get away with it. But this new thing that's come out now puts an even greater light on the situation. It has been decided by the city of Uvalde that Robb Elementary is to be demolished. The school where the shooting took place is going to be demolished, and it's going to be done essentially as quickly as possible. Isn't it odd that you've got the scene of a crime and you've got investigators asking to investigate the situation, and all of a sudden the city, who has been defending the police and their cowardly action, want to destroy the scene of the crime? If that doesn't tell you enough, if you're not suspicious of the police after that, there's no hope for you. And that thin blue line runs all the way through your brain, thus interfering with its function. I don't think at this point anybody could seriously say that this is not suspicious, that there isn't something going on here. I think it's pretty clear that they're trying to destroy evidence. Normally you don't destroy a crime scene in the middle of an investigation unless you're trying to cover something up. Then maybe what the police did is even worse than what we know. Maybe it wasn't just negligence or cowardice on their part. Or maybe there's something even worse going on that they don't want getting out. It's the way it looks to me. And I think it's important that the police be held accountable for what they're doing here. Isn't that their job, to serve and protect? Well, they sure as hell weren't serving, and they goddamn well weren't protecting. Especially when you consider that there is a ruling in the Supreme Court that the police have no obligation to protect you. Well, so much for the protect part of serve and protect. And we should probably sometime put together an inquiry panel to find out what exactly serve means. Because all of this is enough to tell you that there's something wrong, and this is part of the ongoing systemic corruption in police services. Now, I say corruption in police services because normally you don't see it. I mean, obviously the police are there to serve capital. And when the law is 90% property rights, not human rights, it shouldn't be surprising at all that when the police act, it's always in the defense of property or property-related laws, and not laws intended to protect people. The same reason why if you steal a nickel from an employer's cash register, it's a criminal offense, and the police are going to come in, arrest you, lock you up, fingerprint you, do all that. But if your employer steals $1,000 off of your check and on unpaid wages, that's a civil matter. You got to go to civil court to deal with that. In other words, the police suddenly can't help you, right? And all this should be fairly obvious by now, and the way these things operate, that's the way capitalism operates. So I think maybe the citizens of Uvalde, particularly the people who had their children die in this incident, need to stand up and demand a real investigation into the police and hold the police accountable for what they're doing. Because the police aren't going to refuse to cooperate unless they're hiding something. Because remember, you know that old saying, if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to be afraid of if you've got nothing to hide. Isn't that what they tell us when they want to take our freedoms away, or they want to spy on us, etc.? Well, the inverse should also be true. If you've got nothing to hide, officers, then you shouldn't be afraid of speaking up, or not have the city destroy the scene of a crime.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.